The darker the news, the fuller your shopping cart. War, crises, rising prices, and you buy. That's not a coincidence. That's been measured. When you're feeling low, your brain pays almost 4 times as much for the exact same thing, measured in a lab with a plain bottle of water. Full story in a minute. Now think about your last really rough day. A feed full of war and crises, prices climbing, gray skies outside. And at 10 p.m., something suddenly sitting in your cart. Ordered. Done. That's a pattern, and for a few years now it's had a name. Doom spending. Stress buying because the world is ending. Almost 1 in 3 people under 35 admits to doing exactly that. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why your brain does this, why it even works, but only briefly, and how you flip the trick before it empties your account. Ben is having one of those days. A morning email from his boss that smells like trouble. At lunch, he scrolls the news. War, a wobbling economy, prices up, everything's getting worse. That evening, he's on the couch and keeps scrolling. One bad headline after another. At 10:14 p.m., it happens. Headphones, $89. Into the cart. Ordered. For a moment, everything feels better. It really does. Brighter. Lighter. Ben falls asleep happy. And the next morning, there's a package he didn't need and a bank balance that stresses him out. So, you guessed it, that evening he scrolls again. And the cart is already waiting. Sound familiar? Welcome to the club. In one big German survey, 6 out of 10 shoppers admitted buying under the influence of their feelings. And for most of them, it's the bad feelings that trigger the purchase. That's not a character flaw, that's a loop, and it runs on a surprisingly clever mechanism. Doom spending is Doomscrolling's little sister. First, you soak up bad news until your mood hits the floor. Then your brain buys the mood back up. The term comes from the US, where roughly 1 in 4 people admits to shopping exactly like this, out of stress about the economy and world events. And more than half of young people openly admit it. Bad news online drives me to buy. The nasty part, doom scrolling delivers the frustration right to your door. Researchers have found that problematic news consumption goes hand in hand with significantly more stress and anxiety, a vicious cycle that feeds itself. See the pattern? The buying impulse doesn't come out of nowhere. It gets delivered by your feed. The news wears you down. The cart promises relief. 2 apps, 1 loop, and your bank account pays the bill. Why buying of all things? Why not take a walk, call someone, hit a punching bag? Because buying does something that feels priceless in that moment. It hands you back control. Picture your emotional state as a fuel tank. Bad news, arguments, money worries, all things you can't control. Each one drains the tank. And then there's this one button that works instantly. Buy. You choose. You decide. You get it delivered. Finally, the world obeys again. This isn't pop psychology. Researchers have shown it in controlled experiments. Sad people feel measurably better when they get to make purchase decisions. Not because the product makes them happy, because the deciding repairs their sense of control. The proof, it even worked when people just pretended to shop. No real money, no real product. Remember that. We'll build a tool out of it in a minute. And it explains the extreme cases too. After Hurricane Katrina, researchers documented exactly this chain in survivors. Loss of control, stress, and then buying. The more powerless the world makes you feel, the louder that buy button calls. Back to that water bottle from the beginning. The story is too good not to tell in full. Researchers showed one group a sad movie clip. The control group, a boring nature video. Then everyone got to bid on a water bottle. The same bottle for everyone, just a regular one, like from a vending machine, nothing special. The neutral group bid 56 cents on average. The sad group, $2.11, almost 4 times as much. For a bottle none of them needed. And when they were asked whether the movie had influenced their bids, nope, no way. All of them fully convinced they'd bid rationally. The study was repeated 10 years later, by the way. The effect held. Your brain in sad mode is the worst shopper in the world. It buys water at almost 4 times the price, and then swears to you it got a bargain. That's exactly why your worst day is the most expensive day of the month. You don't just buy more, you also overpay. Now for the part almost nobody tells you. Stress buying works. Really. The research is honest about it. Small treat purchases lift your mood, and in moderation, people don't even regret them afterward. But the trick has 3 catches. Catch 1. It only works on certain feelings. On sadness and helplessness, yes. On anger, useless. Tested. Shop angry and you end up just as angry, just poorer. Catch 2. The high is a flash in the pan. For 2/3 of people surveyed, the good feeling after a clothing purchase was gone within a day, and about 1/3 felt emptier than before. Shopping hangover. Catch 3, the most expensive one. Your brain remembers what works. The emergency button becomes a habit, on credit. In the US, credit card debt just hit a record, $1.28 trillion. And in Germany, 1 in 5 people under 30 is in debt, more than ever. That's when you're buying control on credit and losing the real thing. One honest sentence before we move on. If buying is your only outlet and the debt keeps growing, that's not a job for a YouTube video. That's a case for a professional. For everyone else, the trick can be understood and reversed. Here's how you flip the trick. 3 moves, and the first one feels almost like cheating. Tool 1, the parked cart. Remember, the feeling of control comes from deciding, not from owning. So put the thing in your cart, pick the color, pick the size, and then leave it there. You get the feeling, the store gets nothing. Sound absurd? More than 1 in 4 shoppers already does exactly this on instinct. Tool 2, the feeling question. 5 seconds before you click, or better yet, the next morning, ask yourself, do I want the thing or do I want the feeling? If it's the feeling, there are control buttons that cost nothing. Clean up your desk, cross one thing off your list. Sounds trivial, but it hits exactly the same switch in your brain. Tool 3, cut off your supplier. No doom spending. The newsfeed after 10 p.m. doesn't make you any better informed. It just hands you the frustration for your next purchase. App limit in the evening, news in the morning. Your cart will notice. Take 3 things away from this video. 1. Your brain doesn't buy things. It buys control. That's why the cart pulls hardest exactly when the world is falling apart. 2. The trick works, but only briefly, never for anger, and in the long run, you pay for it with debt. 3. Park the cart, sleep on it. Ask yourself, thing or feeling? Now it's your turn. What was your most absurd stress purchase? Drop it in the comments. I bet we can top the water bottle. If this video was worth your time, subscribing costs nothing, and it lasts longer than a stress purchase. Next time, I'm keeping a promise. Why you only ever see winners, successful founders, rich investors, happy traders, and why that very thing costs you money. The losers, you never see them, and that's no accident. Until then, when you're feeling low, the cart can wait. Your bank account will thank you.